Welcome to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island. Free-flowing talk with a charismatic, down-to-earth host. Join Dean as he interviews and chats freely with his guests, ranging from superstar athletes to politicians, industry titans, and everyday folk with fascinating life stories. Dean educates, entertains, and most of all, touches people's lives. You're listening to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dean Blechman Show. It's Monday, March 20th, cool day here in New York on Long Island, and I'm proud and happy to say that I've got my dear friend, Ruthi Davis, on the other end. Ruthi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Dean? It's great to be here. Thank you for having me again.
You bet. I just want to say for not only your listeners all around the world in the Netherlands and just here in the United States, I just want to say once again, backed by popular demand, Ruthi Davis is a global multimedia editor, writer, author, speaker, consultant, business brand strategist. She's the founder of Superfly Supermom and Super Kids Chronicles and a frequent contributor for Thrive Global, the HuffingtonPost, BonbonBreak, Red Tricycle, and ScaryMommy. Ruthi, glad to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me.
How was your weekend?
It was great. Birthday parties and taking it easy and running errands and going on bikes. It was the usual. Boy, it was fun. How was yours?
Mine was great. A little exhausted. You know, I'm sure you could see Dean on the street, my other segment of my show when I'm out of studio, that I'm out there inspiring, educating, and hanging out with a lot of people. And this weekend it was with a lot of people down in the Village of New York City and hanging around with a lot of comedians. It first started off with, if you're ever in New York and anyone that's listening, there's just a fabulous, fabulous restaurant in the Village called the Minetta Tavern. It's a really great place in the Village. And ask for a great hostess there, Brianna Femia. And there's a great bartender by the name of Nick there. It's just a very cool, hip atmosphere in the Village. Great hamburgers. And then after that, Sharon and I went to the Village Underground. They have a number of comedy clubs called the Comedy Cellar, the Village Underground. They've got a place called the Fat Black Pussycat in New York City. Right. Just an awesome time. The MC there is a wonderful, funny guy by the name of Artie Fuqua. And we saw Tony Woods there, great comedian, Jay Okerson. And I'm sure you can see if you go to Dean Blechman's Facebook page, it was quite a weekend. Comedians with every day, Ruthi, with everything going on with people's lives and stress. Whether you're going to go to the theater or you're going to see a movie or watch some sports, it's great to see some great comedy.
Absolutely. Oh, I love New York. I can't wait to go back.
So, what else is new out your way?
All has been great. It's been really busy. Thankfully, it's been busy professionally with the family. We're actually getting ready to move this summer. That's kind of a new topic for us that, we're getting ready to relocate over the summer back to the United States. So just kind of planning those routes professionally with the family and just kind of being forward thinking. It's bittersweet, but we're really excited and we're happy to be back on the East Coast.
What's your weather been like this winter out in the Netherlands?
The Netherlands has funny weather. You can pretty much get all four seasons in one day. It's for the most part a bit overcast, a little bit rainy, a little windy, and here and there you get the beautiful sunshine that you just appreciate when it's there and you hope that it lasts. So today in particular, it is chilly, it is cloudy, it is windy, it's a bit rainy. So you enjoy being indoors, and when you're outdoors, you kind of suit up and get to where you need to go.
We've had the most unusual winter we've ever had. I mean, there was a day here on eastern Long Island where it was 70 degrees about a month ago. And the next day here in Setauket, Long Island, we got dumped on 15 inches of snow.
I know. I remember that. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to get around. We used to live in Colorado, and you just got pummeled all the way through, I don't even know, May. You were still having blizzards. We were up in the mountains. So it's tough. It's tough to drive and to get around, and you can't go out. You're kind of stuck inside.
So listen, this is an exciting show. We decided that today's show was going to be just open topics and subjects, and for everyone to tune in with whatever people want to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a fun show. We've gotten a lot of really wonderful feedback from all of our viewers, and I'm very, very appreciative. So, we've gotten a lot of great questions. I'm excited to jump in and answer everything that our viewers have been asking.
Could I get started with a few?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Listen, there was, I think, Sue from Brunei. It's Brunei. Did I pronounce that correct?
It's Brunei.
Brunei.
Yeah.
Where exactly is Brunei?
It's by Indonesia.
Really?
It's not too far from Thailand, from Singapore. It's a small island.
Well, that's what I love about you, Ruthi, that you're a lot more worldly than I am, and so that was helpful.
Yes, it's a beautiful country. I've never been there, but my friend is from there. My close friend Sue. Hi, Sue, if you're watching. So yes. Yep, that's it. It's Brunei.
Well, listen, Sue had asked Ruthi that you have 4 kids, you have a dog, you have a household to care for, plus you have a career in writing, blog, and the show. She wants to know, how do you manage it all and still keep that beautiful, beautiful smile on your face? Is there such a thing as you can have it all, or has something got to give?
That's a great question. And I tend to get that quite a bit. And surprisingly, I truly don't have that much time during the day to focus on each of those facets. It's kind of scattered throughout the day. It is a lot to juggle, but it's not impossible. I truly believe in multitasking. I'm a huge multitasker. Anything, if anyone's ever seen, the 30-Minute Meals by Rachel Ray, that's kind of how I base my life. I'm juggling. I'm grabbing lots of things at once. I'm huge proponent of prioritizing, developing lists, whether they're mental, whether they're written down. And once I do that, the stress is out of my head, off my shoulders, on paper. And from there, I basically break it down to what do I need to accomplish today. So there are certain mainstays that I have to do every day, like the laundry and the dishes. I don't really have extra help at home outside of once a week, having someone help me clean the house. But, multitasking, getting everything moving and running all the time, it takes a lot of work. But you kind of put it into certain parts during the day. You prioritize the things that you want to accomplish. So, I think the big issue that a lot of people have is they get overwhelmed and they kind of freeze right there. So I think the biggest asset in multitasking, in prioritizing, is not focusing on the to-do list that will run you 3 weeks long, but to focus on what do you have to do today, what is your absolute priority that you have to accomplish, and then breaking it down to small, digestible, tangible steps. So focusing on your immediate right now, focusing on it, getting it done, checking it off, and then moving on. And, I'm a believer in that philosophy, slow and steady wins the race. So I believe that, you really don't have to tackle everything. You don't have to, look at the top of the mountain of where you want to go, but kind of look at every small step at a time, focus on what you need to accomplish, get it done, and before you know it, you'll have finished your entire checklist. And if you don't, nothing happens. The house will still keep functioning, your profession will keep going, you catch up when you can. So that's how I do it all. And, as far as smiling, or has something got to give, if something has to give, I would definitely say a negative attitude. That's one of the things that's my pet peeve, being negative, being a whiner, a complainer. I find it's a complete waste of time. Smiling is all part of your happiness, your perspective on life, your reality, what you choose to focus on, and being grateful and having gratitude. That is the happiness that will carry throughout your face, making your day fun, whether you're doing dishes and dancing to music at the same time, chatting on the phone with a friend, making it fun, focusing on what's important, prioritizing. That's really all that matters. So that is how I prioritize. That is how I live my life, and I keep smiling.
Let me tell you something to everybody that's listening. For me, it's here early, just after 8:30 a.m. here in New York on Long Island. And obviously for Ruthi, it's a little bit after 1:30 her time in the Netherlands. Okay. But let me tell you something. When it comes to Ruthi Davis, Superfly Supermom, what you see is what you get. I mean, this young lady is the real deal. I mean, it's amazing. She's really remarkable, and it's unbelievable, Ruthi. I admire you so much. How you the multitasking, just everything that's got to get done every day. You as a wife, a mother of 4 children. All your work, how you even put up with Dean Blechman every day with all the things that we need to work on, that it really is a true what you see is what you get. And that smile is so real that I think you gave some great advice, that it's not about conquering, because time management is always one of my biggest challenges as well. And I think you said it right when you said, work on today, just right. Focus on really today, not trying to conquer everything all at once, just to get started with some small strokes at first. And great advice, Ruthi.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Listen, let's talk about Kathleen from Virginia has written in. Kathleen says that, Ruthi, in this cyber generation, there are many health-related sites, and she is extremely confused, Kathleen, which site to trust on. What do you recommend, Ruthi?
Yes, you're right. Anytime there is an emergency or symptom at home, and you go on Google and you type in the symptoms, you get a barrage of different medical sites, health sites, articles, and who do you trust? Where do you go? You can basically go on the internet and find anything about anything, and you don't really know what to believe. And I found a wonderful resource, and thankfully, and I'm excited to share that I'm now one of their panel experts on their site as well, because I believed in it so much, consumerhealthdigest.com. They're a wonderful resource for everything you want to know about health, beauty, parenting, pregnancy, anything health related. It is a wonderful, helpful source, informative, valuable source, filled with a panel of experts, of various doctors, experts in the industry, entrepreneurs, CEOs, basically a huge collection of various experts. And you really get the medical background, you get the health and beauty background, you get the child development, pregnancy background. It also has a wonderful section where if you are expecting, you can look month by month and watch videos, get information on the growth and the health and the development of your baby. And, day to day, you're always introduced to new articles and features on various subjects. So I really have to tout them. And I'm thankful that I get to be a part of their site as a panel expert. My article, my new articles, and my bio and picture and all of that should be up, I believe, about this week. So please check it out, enjoy, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the site.
Ruthie, if you could just go again with letting the audience know how they get to that site.
Sure. ConsumerHealthDigest.com.
Awesome. That's really, really great stuff, Ruthie.
Thanks.
Let's go to your home, the Netherlands. We're hearing from great lady Susanna. Susanna asks, how can I manage sibling rivalries? My concern also is that I give equal amount of time and energy to both of my girls. How do you, Ruthie, ensure one doesn't get neglected? I have a 9 and a 4-year-old.
Right. That is a common question, and I've lived it. So I know it's tricky. It's tricky, and it's not impossible at all. My kids are 11, 9, 7, and 4. So we are working on that all of the time. As far as communication between siblings, I'm a strong believer in any relationship, whether it's with a spouse, siblings, with your kids, whatever it is, to communicate, to not have resentment issues, work out issue by issue. Of course, let them resolve on their own, but teach them the tools, how to communicate, how to work together. 4-year-olds, I know they're young. They annoy their brother and sisters from here and there, but it's not impossible. Giving them and teaching them and being a role model and mentoring the right communication strategies and sitting down, working things out, apologizing when you need to apologize. Putting that into practice will help to create a very healthy relationship that is not filled with anger or resentment. As far as them playing together and working things out and enjoying each other's company, what I found works in my home is finding games, activities that work for both of them where they can sit down. Maybe it involves, mom sitting down and working together and playing together with them to let them see that they are fun, let them get to know each other's personalities if they haven't yet. That is, I believe, the biggest go-to that I work on with my children to get them to have a good relationship. The other thing is generally a 4-year-old, what do they want from their older sibling? They just want to be included. They want attention. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be loved. The older sibling doesn't want to be annoyed. They want to teach. They want to feel like a leader, smarter. So a lot of times working with those facets as well also works wonderfully. Playing teacher, having the older one teach the younger one how to read, how to write, how to paint, create activities that one can bounce off the other. That is a wonderful way to foster a very respectful, communicative, happy, and fun relationship between the two. My kids will sit for hours and play teacher. The older two will be the teacher for the younger two, and they will listen and they will raise their hand and they will behave and they will have fun. That's developing that mutual fun and respect for each other. So that is another way to kind of foster a fun relationship, making sure you keep them together, keep them playing. They will fight, they will be annoyed, working it out, and it comes full circle, and that will grow with time. As far as a parent, dividing enough time equally with each of your children, I know it's a constant struggle. I know a lot of moms and families who worry about that, and sometimes it even inhibits them from having another child because they say, how can I divide my love and attention to each of them? If I can't do that, I'm not going to have another kid. And with 4 children, it's tricky, but it's not impossible. Again, finding tasks that you can do one with the other, having one being busy on a project, on a craft, and you take the other one aside and say, hey, how about you help me over here, help me cook, or help me, let's play a quick round of cards while your younger sibling watches and learns how to play. So it's kind of finding these pockets of time within your day, figuring out how to enjoy each other collectively and separately. And for me, the best time that I have with each of my children, my favorite time of the day is typically late at night before they go to bed, sitting with each one of them, talking to them, downloading about their day. That is our most special time. Also having them help in the kitchen, having each of them do separate tasks and constant praise. That for them is the biggest confidence booster. They want to feel loved. They want to feel appreciated. They want mom and dad's attention. So all of those things, I think, it's a work in progress and it takes time. And once you're able to accomplish that and work on it and keep tailoring it based on your needs and in your family, you'll find that you have a very close collective unit in your family between each other and as a parent.
Ruthi said very well. I love this topic, and I'm just listening to you very carefully, and I start reflecting back when I was growing up in Freeport, Long Island, on the South Shore. I hope there's many listeners coming in from those days. But a lot of people don't know that the unusual family that I grew up in. And when I'm listening to this topic and you get into it about sibling rivalries, I don't think many people grew up in a family like I did. I have two sets of twin older brothers. Mom and dad first had a set of identical twins, Neil and Brian. And then 3 years later had fraternal twins, Ross and Steve. And then Dean broke all the records. They thought there was going to be a third set of twin boys. And 4 years later, the single birth Dean. So that's a very unusual, no sisters. No sisters. My mother wishes she had a daughter, but I grew up in that type of sibling environment. You're talking about sibling, and I don't remember any. I don't remember growing up with any rivalries. I guess maybe because I was the single one and a non-twin. Maybe that's why being the baby. Maybe that's why I was spoiled.
Well, I think it's also a compliment to your parents. They kept all of you together and had you communicate and enjoy each other's company. And, it's wonderful. I can't imagine two sets of twins in a row. That's a handful. And you're the two for the price of one, or two put into one.
What's more,
so you're a powerhouse.
What's even more amazing, and fortunately, my soon-to-be 90-year-old mother's still healthy and alive and very vibrant. But what's even more amazing is back in the 50s, and with where we are today with fertility. No fertility drugs with mom and dad back then. It was all natural. So that's what even makes it even more remarkable. It is. But going back on this whole sibling rivalry thing, I did think of one question that I did want to ask you. Sure. How about this whole thing that you sometimes hear about, middle child syndrome? How that middle, when you grow up with three children. Let's say whether there's three sons or two sons and a daughter, but that middle child that's either daughter or son, don't you sometimes hear there's different behavior traits that play with that middle child?
Absolutely. I've always had that in mind with each of my children. There's those kind of generalizations and stereotypes for each child, and the reason that their personalities are typical for their kind of hierarchy as children in your family. I always keep that in mind to make sure that the middle one isn't left behind, the middle one's included. There's interesting dynamics that go on there, and I always try to think about, is it nature or nurture? Is it the nature of how they were born, the order that they were born, or is it just inherent personalities that develop based on your parenting? I do think it's a combination of all of those things. All of my children happen to be completely opposite personalities, completely distinct personalities, different personalities. But I think it's important as a parent to really give each of them attention independently at the same level, at the same intensity. Of course, based on their personalities, some may have more of mom or dad's attention based on what they need in their character and in support. But I do keep that in mind, and I think it's more of a parenting style and a parenting choice in how you raise the children, and the strongest one, just because, let's say the middle one is the most emotionally strong, doesn't need as much help, not to let that one kind of fall behind or fall at the wayside, and really include all of the children, even though one may need more help than the others, really finding a way to give each of them attention and giving them support, giving them praise. I think that's so important.
Awesome. I'm also thinking of my own children now, and right here in the Setauket, Long Island studio, been in this house for 29 years, and our now adult children who live in the city. Matter of fact, I want to do a shout out to my daughter, Allison. It was her birthday. We celebrated also her birthday in the city this weekend as well. But, as we talk about sibling rivalries, I hope she doesn't get upset with her old man right now with what I'm going to say. But, I think of sibling rivalries now with my own kids growing up. I think, Ruthie, I think the only time that I saw a rivalry or a fight ever with my daughter and my daughter Allison and her brother Jared, her younger brother, I think the only time was when she said, I think one day, you smell. That's the only time I remember any fighting or any rivalry ever through the years. So I got through pretty easily.
That's fantastic.
When I was growing up and there was a sister and brother, when it was just the two, I've heard so many stories growing up of so much fighting going on between brother and sister.
Absolutely. And I think it depends on parenting, like I said before, keeping the kids together, keeping them communicating, having them respect each other. As far as in my home, the kids argue. It's not perfect. They love each other. They will play with each other. They will really appreciate each other, apologize when they make a mistake, but I don't feel like anyone, perfect doesn't exist. There's no perfect relationship, but I think that's part of the parenting style in teaching your children that all relationships, spouse, best friend, parent, child, grandparent, aunt, uncle, whatever it is, it all takes work. It's all priority, of what the people that you love in your life, you will really nurture and take care of those relationships. It's a matter of respect, communication, and I think respect is the top one, just not name calling, not being nasty. And if you do, apologize and move on and work together and grow closer. So that's wonderful that, you have children who are very close. I like to think that my kids are close too. They are. But as far as sibling rivalry, I don't think it's rivalry. I think it's just, day to day, up and down, emotional grouchiness and moodiness that comes with being human.
Wow, that's great, Ruthie. Let's move on. It's really getting worldly with the questions and where we're getting from people.
I was impressed. Yeah, I think, living overseas, that's, I think, one of my favorite facets. It's, my friends are from all over the world, and people who have been following the blog really reached out, and I love to see where they're from and what they're interested in. It also shows we're all the same in what we are experiencing and dealing with, and I'm happy to help and to share and to offer advice. So thank you for reaching out.
For those people that don't know, I just want to say, and I get excited waking up. I could barely even sleep last night, let alone that I was out till 3 a.m. in the village in Greenwich Village in New York City with a lot of comedians and having a great time. But I just couldn't wait that I wake up and I say it's just incredible that here I am in my Setauket, Long Island home. and have a show that goes globally all across to the Netherlands. And that Ruthi Davis, Superfly Supermom, and I are here. As I'm in the morning here, she's in the afternoon where she is. And that we're able to just have a global show here that we're able to reach people from around the world and inspire, educate, and have some humor along the way. So thanks again, Ruthi.
Thank you.
Listen, let's go across where now we've got Michelle in the United Kingdom, where my friend, senior correspondent Ria Bow is based out of. Michelle in the UK. She asks Ruthi, with so many things going on, how do you and your hubby keep things fresh? Sometimes you get bogged down with the day-to-day activities with work, kids' life. How do you, Ruthi, ensure that you'll still make time for each other and keep things very, very exciting?
Oh, okay, good question. And that's another one that I think a lot of people don't ask each other. They don't share. They don't talk about, unless it's a best friend or somebody you really confide in, that personal, romantic side. Once, and I'm about to write a blog on this too, once you get married, once you have children, things change. You're tired. Whether you're working, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whatever your life scenario is, it makes sense. I'm exhausted at the end of the day. I'm nonstop from the time I wake up and sometimes through the night with the kids for different reasons, until the time the last one goes to bed. I'm drained. So the big question is, how do you maintain your relationship? How do you keep it fresh? How do you stay intimate? And I have absolutely no problem talking about that too. It's actually a fun topic.
I can't wait to hear it, Ruthi.
Well, okay. So first of all, I'll break it down to you by saying that I think intimacy and relationship is important, and it involves a lot of different levels. So, whether you are, here, I'll say it like this. Intimacy has, the verbal, the emotional, and the physical. That's what I believe. And I believe it's extremely important, even with children, with your children, to have a very warm and loving relationship. Anyone that you care about, you need to be warm and loving with. The day will move along with your moods and grouchiness, of course, that will happen. But physical touch, hugging your children as many times a day as you can. I have learned when I lived in Belgium statistically that actually encourages confidence, self-esteem. Same with your husband, same with any relationship. A hug, a pat on the back or on the arm, talking, praising each other. When it involves your husband or, your wife, if you're a husband watching, the verbal. So flirting, texting, there can be a lot of things that go on during the day that doesn't have to be the specific intimacy in the evening when you're exhausted. We're human. We're not robots. It's not going to be forced. But it's extremely, extremely important. And I believe that having that emotional, physical connection is really important in establishing a strong, solid relationship. It carries on through the day. So as an example, I think that when you have that lack of contact, when you're tired and it's been a long time since you have been intimate with your spouse, it does carry through the day. You're a little bit more cold, a little bit more static, maybe not connecting as much. I believe the verbal and the physical also go hand in hand. They help each other out. You'll be more patient, more loving, more kind, more respectful. When you have both the physical and the emotional connection, the communicative connection, you're a team, you support each other, you're partners. So as far as, managing that and making sure that you keep things fresh and fun, that's all up to your choice and, the spouse and the couple. So as an example, one thing that you can do is during the day, sending little quick notes to each other, texting each other, whether it's just a supportive statement, a loving statement, a flirty statement. Those things kind of keep it exciting, keep it fun, keep it fresh. Maybe when you're at home, a flirty touch when the kids aren't around, a kiss here and there. I think that loving and that warm support and relationship is important. And of course, in the evening, that is the natural progression, finding the time, making it fun, making it fresh, and almost making it, a goal in a sense. How many nights in a row can you be intimate? It's kind of this mutual excitement in the evening. So there's a lot of different ways to keep it fun and fresh. Those are some of them. I think it's very important. It really does solidify your relationship. In the beginning, it may be a little awkward if you've had a dry spell for a long time, but it is important to keep it going, keep the warmth. You're not roommates, you are partners, you are life partners, you love each other. So it needs to be an ongoing physical, supportive, mutual relationship. And I think that just grows with time. And it's very important. And it'll make you feel good as a person, carry on through the day, your confidence, your self-esteem, your excitement, your own feeling of sexiness and happiness. It impacts every facet. So feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. I'm always open to talking about any topic.
Ruthi, with just listening to you very candidly and listening intimately, and I just want to say your husband's a lucky guy.
Thank you.
Okay, basically, what your advice is just a little bit more nurturing and feeding. Right. Let's move on to someone that wants to remain anonymous. And we don't even know where exactly they're located, and that's okay. We welcome people from all over the world. You could be anonymous. You don't have to say your name. You don't have to say where you're from, but we welcome everyone's ideas, questions, topics, subjects, feedback, anything on our shows. But Ruthi, this person, anonymous, asks, my daughter has a friend who sticks to her like glue and won't let her play with anyone else. Her daughter wants to play with other friends, but doesn't want to hurt her feelings. What would you, Ruthi, advise?
I've been there. With my kids. It's a tough one. It comes and goes, and I think it's also age-related. Around this time when kids are exploring their social relationships, when they're learning how to expand or how to really involve themselves very closely with another person and have that best friend label on it, it can get a little tricky at times. How do you separate? How do you let go? How do you tell them without deeply offending them that you really want to branch out without breaking and ruining that relationship? It's hard. But basically, what I have explained to my children, and I really find it important for them to learn and to know, is that you are in complete control of yourself. No one is in control of your body, of your words, of your emotions. You are your own person. And when people have their feelings hurt and there's no, you didn't insult them, but when people are feeling a certain way, it is their life lesson that they need to learn, which is separate from you. So as an example, when the person who asked this question, when your daughter feels controlled or she wants to branch out and she doesn't want to hurt the other girl's feelings, I would suggest, being honest, communicating, explaining, look, I really have fun playing with you, but how about we include another friend in today? How about we include, this girl from our class? I really want to play with her too. And then slowly, branching out a bit and saying, I really want to play with her today, or I want some private time with her during this recess. I still enjoy your friendship and I still want to play with you, but I really want to play with this one today just for a little while. And naturally, you would think, oh, that child is going to get extremely offended. and walk off or storm off, or you're putting your friendship on the line by saying that. And, partly that is partly true. But you are your own person. You can't be, the only way to be controlled is to allow yourself to be controlled. For someone to tell you can and cannot do this, and you listen, that's the only way to be controlled. If you don't listen, you're honest, you communicate your feelings, the way that you think, you express yourself, and you do what you feel is right. If the other child gets offended, perhaps she may walk away for that recess, be a little bit upset, but that is her learning lesson to learn, not your daughter's. So she will have to learn, she'll have to process. Your child can reassure her, we're still best friends, whether I play with you today or not, whether we include another child in playtime or not. I'm still your best friend, but I also want to play with some other girls. And that child will have to learn. It's her learning lesson. That is her journey that is separate from yours. So that is what I encourage my children. I think, you're really in control of your own actions, your own choices, your body, your words. And I think it's an extremely important lesson to ingrain early on for children to know that they are completely in control of themselves. Nobody has control over you. And I think that carries on to many different topics for another time, but just being open, being honest, and letting that other child learn social development in their own time, in their own way.
Ruthie, I have a question for you. Would you find in your personal experience this happens more with girlfriends than boys in relationships with boys?
Absolutely. My son is 4, so I can't speak personally from his experience, but from my understanding in the nature of both females and males, which isn't 100% constant, everyone is different, I find that girls tend to be more emotive in nature, and these types of social issues and developments and kind of the back and forth emotional control tends to happen more readily with females than with males. Males seem to be a little bit more go with the flow, black and white, a little bit easier to read, a little bit clean slate. They have an issue, they deal with it, they wrestle it out, they talk about it, they move on, even if they're angry. Later, it kind of is a clean slate. So they're a little bit more cut and dry in that sense from speaking to other parents who have 1 or 4 or, multiple boys. It seems to be the case. But I found that issue to be repetitive with the girls, especially around, 8, 9, 10 years old.
Very good. Let's move on to, we have Paula now from New York. Paula says she's in her 3rd trimester and can feel the baby, whereas my husband is more excited to know if there is any video to see the growth of the baby.
Absolutely. And that's another question that I will defer to consumerhealthdigest.com. They have an entire section on their website that, if I was pregnant, which I'm not, I would be looking at day by day. They have a beautiful, wonderful collection of articles, videos, and an amazing video that dads can take a look at, or, to-be dads, take a look at, watch day by day, week by week, and actually watch what stage the baby is in, how it's growing, and learn all about it. So there's also a wonderful panel of doctors who offer great advice, great suggestions, and great feedback about the entire journey of pregnancy. But there's great videos there. So if you are pregnant, check it out, consumerhealthdigest.com.
Wow, great stuff, Ruthie. How about Macedonia? You know where that is?
I do. It is close to Russia.
Close to Russia. I had to ask you that because we're now going to go over to Katerina from Macedonia. She asks Ruthie, what do you think about tough love for kids? It's personally not my style. What do you think, Ruthie?
It's not my style either. I think if she is referring to spanking, hurting, or disciplining physically, no, absolutely not. I think that is, you don't You don't teach by doing what you're telling the child not to do. You don't tell them not to hit and you hit your child. Doesn't work. It's backwards, doesn't make sense, it's confusing, and it is demoralizing and traumatizing. So absolutely not for me, not ever. I don't believe in it. As far as, tough love, I think as far as teaching, learning lessons, your tone, the way that you handle different scenarios with your children, I think that every child responds differently to different manners. I think always teaching with love, with compassion, that's key. But some children, I believe, also respond differently, whether you have a more firm tone, whether you have a more, whether you have a very compassionate and loving tone versus a more firm tone in a situation. Children respond differently to different situations, to different consequences. Nothing physical, but I do believe that, always teaching with full communication, full honesty, full compassion, and love as being the underlying factor is number one. That does not change, but the manner in which you may speak in the moment, I think, will vary from child to child based on how they best respond to your manner of speech. So that definitely works with my children. Some are a lot more sensitive to a frustrated tone, an angry tone, an angry face, and some other children do respond a little bit better to a very a more strict tone followed by explanation, discussion, and talk. So I think that varies from child to child. You as a parent, you know the best, you know your child the best. So it's a matter of kind of testing it out, trial and error, figuring out what works best for your children, but never anything physical other than a hug.
Very well said. We're now going to go to the great state of Florida. We've got Susie. She says, my mom, what is your definition, Ruthie, of happiness, and if peace within yourself gets you there?
That's a wonderful question. I was so happy that she sent that over to me. Hi, Mom. Excuse me. Yes, happiness. I think there are two kinds of happiness, and you'll probably agree once you hear it. I think there is immediate gratification happiness in the moment. When you see your kids, when you pick them up from school, when your spouse comes home, when I see a jar of Nutella, happy. I feel really good inside. I feel happy. That is the serotonin releasing happiness that is temporary. It also causes people to feed for more. It is temporary. It's not underlying. It's not deep. It's just in the moment. So that level of happiness, that is not inner peace related. That is just really excited. The other kind of happiness that I think she's alluding to is your inner peace. How do you feel about yourself, your world, your life, your family, where you are right now, in this second, in this moment in time? I do believe that has a lot to do with inner peace. Finding your happiness, finding your finding your center and your ground in who you are. And how do you do that? I think that takes time, work, a lot of introspection. I can say that I feel deeply happy in my everyday, whether things happen, whether unexpected situations happen, whether I'm grouchy, happy, moody, whatever is happening around me, I can say that I'm deeply, deeply happy as a person. And I think that quality happens when you find your center, you find your ground. And I do that. I truly believe in the power of positivity. Your perception, this is my favorite quote, your perception is your reality, and it goes vice versa. Your reality is your perception. So I choose to be happy. I believe it's a choice. I choose to look at every aspect in the world. I know everything, you could always say it could be worse. So looking at situations with a positive eye, with a positive perception, not a fake eye, not lying, but truly believing and being grateful and living in the moment is so important to be a grounded person, to process everything that happens during the day and to find that balance, your centered, your centered stability in who you are mentally, emotionally, physically, and then you find the confidence and the happiness in your life to really ground you and to anchor in. And if you are unhappy or if you aspire for more, you create that and you create a plan and you tackle it and you create your reality based on your perception and you alter your perception in a situation to create that reality. So I think when you're able to create any situation into a positive situation, you can find your inner happiness. I hope that makes sense.
Ruthi, if you don't mind, it was terrific what you said. And I've got to give a shout out to Mom down there in Florida and just say you've got a fabulous daughter and family, children. You, Mom, you're truly blessed. And being down there in Florida, that you've got to meet my mom one day. She'd love to meet you.
Sharon.
But Ruthi, you said something a little earlier on this topic. You had mentioned, and it really registered with me. You said the words, "Things can be always worse," and I just want to make a comment on that. That there are a lot of people that you can't make that comment to. That things can be worse, because even though you might think, whoever the person is that's saying that to somebody, that things can be worse, that person you're saying that to, for them, what they are dealing with at that moment,
absolutely,
even though it might not be, let's say, something health-wise that might be terminal, to them at that moment, that's a crisis to them. And to them, things can't be worse. So how do you... I just wrote down that you had said things can be worse. How do you deal with that when the other person, to them, things can't get any worse?
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I think that phrase is something you say to yourself. You don't say that to others. In that situation, in a terminal situation, if you were thinking introspectively, things could be worse. Yeah, you are grateful for every second that you have, every day that you have. Could it be worse? Yeah, then you're not guaranteed this moment. So in that perspective, you value, you appreciate, and you have gratitude for every moment that you are given in your life. I'm just saying, kind of in a holistic sense, when you have that mentality of it could be worse, it's to try and find the positive in that moment, in the situation, in the scenario. Of course, a terminal illness is not, there's nothing positive about a terminal illness, but in that moment, they can have gratitude for the fact that they're alive, the fact that they get to live another moment, another day, another hour. So I think it's always a matter of your perception. That is the reality.
Very good, very good. Let's move on. This is really turning into a worldly global show where we're going all the way to India. Sira says she'd like to know, Ruthi, what do you suggest when faced with a child with low confidence?
Oh, well, I think some children, whether it's parenting, life-related, their emotion, their personality, yeah, that's a common topic. And, I've had to work on that personally as a child. I've had to work on it with my children. Low confidence. I think it's a matter of, as a parent, when you recognize that that the child is suffering, which is, it's an extremely common situation. It's a matter of boosting up, finding ways to really boost their self-esteem. So it's finding the little things throughout the day, saying what a great job they're doing, and also communicating what their worries and fears are. What do they feel that they're not great at? Why do they feel a little bit lower or less important or less intelligent than others. So what are the qualities or attributes that are making them feel less? Why are they not so confident? And finding ways to work together on those areas, and also at the same time, abundance of love, abundance of support, and finding ways for them to win, finding ways for them to be successful throughout the home, at school, and boosting that up constantly. Boosting, being there, being a guide, being a support, being a mentor, being a role model throughout the entire house, every member in the house. That should be important to them to really work together to give that child a boost of confidence. And I think it's not a short-term accomplishment, it's a long-term support system. And I think it's extremely valuable. I can definitely say personally, as a parent as well, it's something that, I think another facet that a lot of parents sometimes misread is when you have that child who's really has a wall up and is really pushing your buttons and is really giving you a hard time, a lot of times that is from a lack of confidence. That comes from putting that wall up so you don't feel hurt and you don't feel so vulnerable. And those are the children that you also pay more attention to. They need that extra support as opposed to allowing them to push you away. So that's what I think is, really a lot of love, a lot of support, and finding ways to make them successful.
Great stuff, Ruthi. Great feedback. Well, we're going to go all the way over to Greece now. We've got Shauna in Greece who asks, Ruthi, what made you go back and work? What's your motivation? And how did you build up your confidence to get back out there in the workforce?
Well, I did take a bit of a break with 4 children and, one small one at home. I was exhausted. I worked, even through having all 3 of them at home, when I only had 3. Then when I had my 4th one, I just had to take a bit of a break. I was exhausted. Once he got to school, I needed to kind of reassess who, my identity, who I am professionally, personally, emotionally, and that's kind of a defining moment. I wrote a blog about it, actually, about the mom rut, figuring out who you are, coming out of that shell and figuring out who are you now. So as for me personally, living overseas, I felt very grateful for having the opportunity to be here and to be a stay-at-home mom and not have that quick pull back into work to support the family. And in doing that, I kind of stopped and I looked back at myself and said, I really want to focus on my passion, what drives me, what moves me, helping people, communicating, writing on topics that I really love and I really enjoy. And that the blog and the website really snowballed. People really connected to that, unfiltered aspect, the unfiltered speech and tips that I've learned along the way. So it kind of snowballed from there. I think a big area that propels me professionally is to not have fear, not worry, and to know that whether I'm speaking to a homeless person, a janitor, the CEO of a company, somebody on the street, somebody at the supermarket, it doesn't matter. I treat all people exactly the same. And I've learned that, not to live with fear, worry, regret. Do what you want. Work as hard as you can. You'll get lots of no's before you get a yes. And keep going. And if you love it and if you're passionate, things will work out and it'll find its place, it'll find its way. And that's kind of what's happened with my career. And that's kind of why I went into all of it. I get a lot of personal gratification and happiness in helping others. So that's really how I got back into work, and I really enjoy it, and it's really grown.
I constantly say it, but you are amazing. Listen, we're going to go over to Colorado now. We're going to hear from Jenny. Jenny asks Ruthi, what to do when everything you ask your child to do anything, and her answer is always no, and what to do if your child is so argumentative that she always needs to say the opposite of what you ask or say, and sometimes not even realize what you are asking is for the benefit of for her. So obviously, Jenny from Colorado is talking about a daughter here.
Yes, defiance and mouthiness and anger and no. That is an assertion and a test of personality, of choice, of control, of will. That is normal. We've all gone through it. It's not easy. It can be really tough, especially as a parent, figuring out how to keep your emotions in check, not, kind of hit the roof. It's hard. But again, kind of like what I've said before, I'll touch on the same. That is that wall, the no, the anger. It's sometimes a need for reassurance, for love, more compassion, positivity. And you know what I say? If they're constantly saying no, and you are constantly saying no, you get nowhere. So say yes. And I'm not saying say yes to what they're asking, but find ways to flip it around. Say yes. So if they say, Mom, I really want, an iPhone, or I really want, 5 hours on TV or whatever it is, of course you're going to say no. Well, maybe you may or you may not, but, saying yes, finding a way. Yes, I hear what you're saying. Acknowledge what they're feeling. Bring it out. Acknowledge it. Let them know that you're seeing eye to eye. Level the playing field, and then find a way to say yes. I appreciate that you want a phone like all of your friends. And I am really, I know that you want to communicate. You want to enjoy all of the social media that they're on as well. Yes, I think you can. And that'll be when you're a little bit older. Or change it around. That word yes and no are extremely powerful. You say no, they shut down. So find different outlets, find different ways to say yes. Keep it positive, keep it, eye to eye, and let them know that you understand how they're feeling.
Wow, powerful. Listen, I want to thank, I know we're coming up on the hour, Ruthi, and I want to just thank everyone that sent in subjects, topics, and questions. I mean, we've got so many more to read, but we're going to have to save that for future shows. But some great questions and topics. I want to thank, both of us want to thank everybody for sending in some great questions and topics. Now for Dean, I've got a few questions to ask my special guest, Ruthi Davis. She's laughing. You're laughing, Ruthi, already, huh?
Yeah, let's hear.
Nothing like spontaneous conversation here. But for Ruthi, I've got to ask you. Dean wants to know. Tell me 3 interesting things that we don't know about you.
Okay. Well, one, I already gave it away. We are moving back to the United States this summer. Wow. We are going to be moving to the D.C., Virginia area, and we're really excited. And I think it'll be a wonderful opportunity, and, it'll be bittersweet because we love Europe. But I think, it's a good time for us to relocate, and we'll have the stability for the family and for the kids. So that is something that a lot of you don't know, that we are moving this summer. The other thing, let's see. What else? I just lost my train of thought. Right. So we are relocating, and here's the other thing. A lot of people it's actually very comical. A lot of people seem to ask me what my background is. They look at me and they're not sure what my nationality is. So I was going to answer it so it's a little bit easier for everyone. I am American. I was also born in Israel, and my parents were born in Peru and in Chile, and my grandparents are European. They're from Russia, Romania, and Poland. Wow. So I consider myself a mix of all things, and I think living overseas, I can kind of identify with every part of myself, every part of my background and heritage. So that is officially my nationality, my background. I am American, and I'm a bit of all of those things. And I think that leaves one more.
And I'm very happy that you're relocating to the United States and to that D.C. area, because you're getting closer and closer to Setauket, Long Island. So we're hoping to see you more when you get out here.
Absolutely. We'll have to do a Dean on the Street.
Definitely.
And let's see. I think I had one more. I'll think of one. Well, what do I do to keep things lively at home? I have to do dishes and laundry every day to maintain a family of 6 plus a big furry dog. So my little private secret that nobody knows until now, except for my small group of friends, is I love to dance, and I love Zumba. Hi, Karina, although I haven't been doing it lately. I've been a little bit too busy. So what I do to keep things fun is, while I do laundry in the basement, I should probably get a disco ball because I tend to put on pop music really loud and dance a lot while I do laundry. So that is part of how I do my fitness. So that is my third secret.
Well, it's amazing, and especially for my listeners, a lot of people that maybe don't know Ruthi Davis, Superfly Supermom. Let me tell you something. With all the multitasking and being a mother of 4 and husband and everything that you do, if you haven't seen this beautiful woman, you got to go to her website, Superfly Supermom. Why don't you say exactly where you could be found, Ruthi? But you're beautiful.
Sure. Oh,
inside and out.
You're very sweet. Yes, superflysupermom.com is my website. It's also on Facebook that you're on now, Superfly Supermom, and on LinkedIn, Ruthi Davis, RUTHI. On Instagram and on Twitter, it is Ruthi_Davis, and Pinterest and Google Plus, also Ruthi Davis. So that's where you can find me. So Superfly Supermom is my website. There's a lot that you can find there. There's also the Ask Ruthi advice column. So if we didn't get to your question, I'm sorry, and I appreciate you writing into us. Go ahead and send me a message, and I would be happy to write a whole blog on it. So
listen, as we start to wrap up, I've got 2 more questions for you before we wrap up the show.
Okay.
What are your least favorite foods, Ruthi, and what is your kryptonite supermom food that you simply can't resist?
Okay. The yuckiest foods that I cannot stand are mustard and pickles.
Really?
I cannot even smell it. I can't buy it. I can't touch it. It's revolting to me. If it's accidentally in any of my sandwiches, I will probably gag.
Wow.
I've tried to taste and eat pickles. I've tried to eat mustard. I've tried to love it like other people love it, but it is revolting. I can't go near it. I can't even smell it, and I start. I cannot. So
wow. I guess we're gonna have to be careful when you get closer to me out here because
no mustard. Ugh.
I love Sharon and I love my wife Sharon and I love mustard, and I love pickles.
My kids love it, and I won't even buy it. I can't smell it. I can't.
So this summer, when you come out for a nice barbecue, maybe in August or whatever, out to Long Island, we're gonna have to really put the pickles and mustard in a separate room.
You can keep it there. I won't go close by, and I may wash my hands if I accidentally touch it. It's pretty bad. I can't stand it.
Well, listen, I'm having a lot of fun with you, and I could just go on for hours and hours. I've got to ask you, and I want especially my audience and audience all over the world, what exciting projects are you currently working on, and what can we expect from Ruthi Davis moving forward?
Thankfully, it's been a really wonderful and full year since I've started this blog and website. What's to expect? Besides the usual awards, advice column, and blogs that you see on the site, like I had mentioned, I will be a panel expert on ConsumerHealthDigest.com. I'm also going to have a channel posted live this week on a wonderful resource, a wonderful site called themainstream.co. Check it out. I will have my own channel called Superfly Supermom. You'll have updates, you'll have links, you'll have exciting comments, and I welcome anyone who wants to post or advertise on that channel as well with me. Reach out to me. It should be live this week. themainstream.co. It's an amazing resource, directory, tool for all of your favorite topics, stores, likings. It's really neat. So check it out. Outside of that, it's a little too early to say, so I will not give detail, but some cool TV projects coming along very soon that are still in discussion. So check that out. And also, I am promoting or brand ambassador and developing the strategy and updating the brand and the helping with the website for a wonderful company called MrTimeSaver.nl. So check it out. They're an amazing delivery company, and they deliver laundry. They deliver alterations and shoe repair within 24 hours. They come to your door, help you out. Cool service, cool company, and I'm happy to help them, represent them, and help them. So those are basically all of my projects, and also a book project as well that you'll be seeing soon. It's a lot of really cool things keeping me busy, and I appreciate all of the support and everyone watching. So send me an email, send me a comment, write to this video. I'd be happy to hear from you, and I'd love it. So thank you.
Well, Ruthi, on that note, I just want to thank you very, very much for another show here on the Dean Blechman Show.
Thank you for having me.
And, we're Facebook Live right now. And, I just want to mention that this show with Ruthi will also be podcasted. It'll be archived up tomorrow. And you'll be able to hear it as well, not only on both our Facebooks, but as well as on the Dean Blechman Show YouTube channel, as well as on iTunes for downloading. So it's just, you're a remarkable young lady. And more importantly, besides all these great shows, I truly value our young friendship as well, more than anything else.
Absolutely. And you're such a wonderful, warm, savvy, person. And I appreciate our friendship very, very much. And I love talking to you all the time. So definitely we'll have to have another show. And if you have any ideas out there watching, or any topics you want to see explored, send me a message too, please. You bet.
So this is very different what we do here on these shows with Ruthi and Dean as we're live as well as podcasting. But from all of us, I just want to thank all our listeners that have come in from all over the world. Really appreciate it very much. And that, as Ruthi said, I also, besides being here in the studio, there's a second part of me that's called Dean on the Street. And right. You can get a good look of what Dean on the Street is when you go to my Facebook page, Dean Blechman, Blechman. It's pretty cool. Dean goes all over the world. 2 weeks ago in Aruba. This past weekend, as I said, I was in Greenwich Village. Just some great stuff that you can see. And, we always encourage feedback and ideas and topics. Don't be afraid. We want to hear from everyone. And whether you want to be a guest on the show or you've got any ideas, suggestions, topics, you can write to me directly also at dean@deanblechman.com. But once again, I want to thank everybody for being with us today. Ruthi, I'm going to close out the show for the podcast, but we'll still stay on after that. And I just want to say for everybody to have a great day from all of us at the Dean Blechman Show. Everybody, take care. You bet. Ruthi says goodbye as well.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island, New York. From all of us here, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. We look forward to hearing your comments via Facebook, Twitter, Skype, and email. And don't forget, you can visit the webpage anytime for the up-and-coming guest list. From all of us here, have a good evening.